I do want to share a story that I think you guys would find interesting, because I too had a discussion with a BYU archaeologist. And this was a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, and we invited Dr. Brian Wood, who is the archaeologist for Associates for Biblical Research, has been an archaeologist in Israel for 25 years. We invited him to come to Utah, and we set up meetings for him to go through all up and down the state and talk in churches. And one afternoon, we were in Salt Lake. He said, well, Chip, what can we do today? And we don't have anything to do all afternoon. And I said, well, let's go visit Temple Square, and I'll kind of show you the religion here and the culture here. And so we got there, and we were in a museum, and I said, you know what, Dr. Wood, I think it'd be really interesting if you would walk up to the desk, the front desk, and introduce yourself. You know, my name is Dr. Bryant Wood. I have a PhD in Canaanite archaeology. I'm the chief archaeologist for Associates for Biblical Research, and I've been excavating in Israel for 25 years. And I would love to see some Nephite archaeology to compare, because I've just learned today here at Temple Square that the Nephites were Hebrews. And I've been studying Hebrew archaeology for 25 years. So could you show me some Nephite archaeology that I could compare with the Hebrew people that had migrated to America? So he did that. And the lady behind the desk kind of looked like this, you know, kind of, I'll have to get the museum curator for you to talk to. So a few minutes later, the museum curator came down. He said the same thing to the curator, and the curator kind of looked like this. Well, we don't have anything like that here at the museum, but if you would go to BYU, to the Joseph Smith building, there would be men in there that could address this topic with you and possibly show you some stuff. So I said, oh, Dr. Wood, we have tomorrow afternoon free. We'll go down tomorrow afternoon. And I'm sure the museum curator was thinking, well, don't tell him I sent you. So anyway, we went to BYU, went to the front desk, and again, he introduced himself to the secretary, and she said, well, the only person we have here that might be qualified to talk with you is Dr. Muhlestein. And he is an Egyptologist. Would you care to talk to Dr. Muhlestein? And Dr. Wood said, oh yeah, I've excavated in Egypt many times. I'd love to talk with him. So we went into his office, sat down at his desk, and talked with him. And the first thing that happened was he and Dr. Muhlestein immediately connected, because they had common connections in Egypt, archaeologists that they had worked with in different places they had dug there. And so as they're discussing, you know, they're just kind of connected. After a few minutes, Dr. Muhlestein says to Dr. Wood, well, Dr. Wood, you know, why have you come here? You know, what's the purpose for you coming to talk to me today? And so Dr. Wood explained, and this was exactly what Dr. Muhlestein did. He went, oh. Well, to be honest with you, well, the fact is, well, Dr. Wood, the reality is we have not located the civilizations of either the Nephites or the Lamanites yet, so I have nothing to show you. Wow. And so Dr. Wood was like, well, why do you think that is? Well, why are you having such a struggle locating this culture? And he said, well, a lot of people, LDS people, think that all of the Native Americans, you know, were basically the Lamanites and, you know, descendants of these groups. They said, we have discovered that they were actually a very small minority that were surrounded by a much larger Native American population, and so we just have not found this isolated culture yet. And so Dr. Wood, he's never probably studied or read the Book of Mormon, but I have, so I said, well, Dr. Muhlestein, I've read the Book of Mormon, and I remember that there were great battles. I said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but battles where hundreds of thousands died in these great battles between the Nephites and the Lamanites. If I'm wrong, I think they were somewhere near the hill Cumorah. And I said, Dr. Wood, were there battles in the ancient world where hundreds of thousands of people were killed in great battles? And Dr. Wood's expression was priceless. He just went, no, that would be unprecedented, he says. And so I said, well, Dr. Muhlestein, if that's the case, then the Nephite and Lamanite civilizations would have had to have been fairly large cultures. I mean, if hundreds of thousands were killed in a battle, they would have had to have been comparable to the Assyrian or the Babylonian or even the Philistine or Hittite civilizations, which we've located, in the old world, so why are we having such trouble finding them here? And his only response was, well, just because we haven't found them doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I just tell you, you have no clue how much I wished I'd had a recording of that. But anyway, that was an experience that I had, and same kind of experience, and he just said, there's no connection. So Dr. Wood, to conclude it, Dr. Wood says, well, do you have a periodical? I'm sure the LDS people are interested in this topic. Do you have a periodical that your church puts out that addresses this problem? He says, no, nothing like that. Well, do you have like a church website that I could go to? I'd like to follow this as you're doing this. I'd like to see how you research. He said, no, nothing like that. He said, well, surely you and your colleagues are discussing this, have some kind of a group that's hashing this out. He says, no, you don't understand. Even amongst the scholars, the archaeologists in our church, we don't even know where to look. Some think Central America, some think the Baja Peninsula, some people think New York State, and others have other ideas. We can't even get together on where to go look. We don't know. We have no agreement amongst us. And so, just so you know, that was just an interesting experience for me, and I'm glad I had that experience. I thought I would share that with you guys as well.